Start recording. There we go. Today, are we? No, I can't. I don't know if I'm audible. I'm audible. Yes, I think I'm audible. There we go. It's going up and down like I'm audible. We're going to feature one of my favourite streamers on Twitch. Her name is Jay Dizzy, and the link to her stream will be put in the description of this video. We're going to review a couple of games she played what was to me very late last night, so I wasn't actually on the stream because I'd already gone to bed. I watched a little back of the video of some of the games of this stream. So we're going to start off with this game where she has the white pieces. Her elo on our rating on chess.com going into this game was 584 and her opponent 627, but there may be no ratings after the game, so I'm not sure, but it's 600 elo on chess.com chess. This is where we get to look at how players at that level play and how someone can fix their mistakes and rise above this level, which is a lot of people want to do when they're starting out. So we're going to go into the game, and she went through afterwards the chess.com review, but I think it's much better to have somebody personally review it who can speak at the level of the player that's playing. d4 c5, the old Benoni. I don't know if black knows what they're doing on this opening at this point. Knight to f3 is given as an inaccuracy. It's not actually a terrible move. The suggested move is to push the pawn up. You get more space by doing that. With black's response to d5, you now get black into white. You now get into more familiar territory that white is more likely to know. She brings the bishop out, make it into a kind of London opening. She likes obviously to play the London. And knight goes to f6 and the pawn comes out, developing, more developing. You are a little bit concerned maybe that your opponent is going to go here and the bishop has to go back. It's not necessarily a great move by black to do that, because although it pushes the bishop back, it also removes the threat of capturing on d4. In any case, the pawn comes here to enable a further push on the expansion on the queen side. White wants to castle early. Black brings out the bishop, attacking the knight and pinning it. And white plays what many players would do and attacks the bishop. And the bishop captures the knight and the knight captures back. The move's given as an accuracy. The engine suggested appears to be this move here. These games are all analysed on lichess. They were played on chess.com, but I copied the PGN onto lichess. And one of the reasons why I like to do that is we can look at the opening explorer and see where the games have been played before. And if I expanded the window, you would see that this position has been played a large number of times on a lichess database, and h3 is the most popular move played by white, even though it's considered an inaccuracy. The second most common move is knight moving b to d, is this move here, and the third most popular move is here. And if we move to the masters database, you'll find this position has never been reached, which means that some of the moves that have been played are considered up to this point are considered inferior. But lichess that has their own players database, and it's filtered by only players rated 1600 plus and playing. I think I may have put blitz or rapid, or it may just be rapid or slower. So we're not interested in bullets players. We're interested in what normal chess players are playing. And it's very useful for the opening database to see what players, or if your openings, what you're likely to come up against. c3 is not the move that was played on the board, so let's go back to the game. h3, which is the move played, and of the 70% of the players with the white pieces have moved the bishop back, and 24% have captured the knight. So what else could you do? Move the bishop back to h5. So the other sensible move seemed to be to maybe to move the bishop back to one of these squares, but strangely enough, the other 4 players have made some kind of sack. We've had an e5 move, which doesn't actually sack a piece because you're defended. I mean, you're attacking a piece back. And the other moves were some silly moves. Taking here, e6, just gives up a free piece. This move makes some sense because it attacks a bishop. So you're attacking my bishop, I'm attacking yours. Bishop can move back here in such an attack, but you can captures. Obviously, everybody here chose to capture the queen. Nobody ruins their pawn structure and captures the pawn. Pawn takes here, wins a pawn for black now, and white moves knight to d2, developing it, saying I don't want to capture your pawn and give you a knight the square. The knight then captures, which is one of the moves that have been played, but it's not the suggested move. The suggested move is to expand on the king side now with this move, and so we can play it. And now the bishop would have to go here, but you're going to get forked, and if you get bishop takes, the queen, if the queen recaptures, you can now get out like that. You're still losing in pawns, but you're okay. If the pawn captures, we're now going to take with the knight, and we're down a piece, but we've got it's pawns that the bishop defends it, and it actually comes as what you've got. 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we pin this pawn, and we're probably going to have a little bit more compensation. In any case, the move that was black took the pawn here. White takes back with the queen, which is a better way to take back, because now after e5 you can just take it. It's a free pawn. Knight, we put the game, and the queen comes back here. The black decides to push the pawn on that side of the board. At this point you wonder why black isn't developing the last piece. The bishop hasn't been developed yet. Black hasn't castled yet. He brings a rook to the file. Maybe the wrong rook, because maybe you want to bring both your rooks in. This rook to this one, this rook to here. The entrant thinks that d1 is the right square for this particular rook. The pawn moves there, but it's attacked twice. 1, 2, and defend. So it's attacked twice, and it's only defended once. In addition, it's actually pinned, so there's no threat even. So to take it, so white might have gone there to attack it a third time, or we take it. He takes back, we take back, he has to put the bishop in, and then we take this pawn here, and this is a very strong position for white, because actually, if he does nothing, so he plays a nothing move, we can actually now take his sacrifice here, and if he takes back, we get the rook. So we've won a whole piece. And if he castles, that's obviously just a free rook. So his only move to save, castles, just a free rook, and or you can take it with the queen. And the other move to save it would be to go all the way home with the knight, and that's only temporary because you bring the other rook in, and there's more coming in after that. Black's in a terrible position here, so that's a bad move because we should just take it. White doesn't take it and lose the bishop back. So you wouldn't expect the player to see all of that attack, but you might expect them to see the first part. Firstly, that the pawn is only defended once, and secondly, after taking the rook with check, that and the knight has moved. This pawn here is hanging. The knight is in front of this pawn, so you may have got to see as much as that, at least of this part of the attack. Bishop comes back to g3, and the bishop here comes defend the pawns, but you can now bring the knight in, and the knight attacks the pawn. The bishop goes back, and now the pawn is attacked 3 times. It's only defended twice, so you could again capture it, but she doesn't, and she plays a bishop move. The pawn comes here, and that's given as a blunder because it weakens the king side enormously, but it's a poor move. The problem is now that if you're going to castle, the king is extremely weak over there with those pawns moved. So after the bishop goes back, if that castles now, and that's possibly the move that's suggested, you've got all sorts of, well, this is attacked several times. There's a threat of the queen coming in here at some point. Move the queen in here. That defends the pawn, but there's a tactic now for white. White finds the first move of knight b6. The rook had only got 1 square. He thought a long time about it, and now you've got a fork. So you come here and attacking the queen and the knight, the rook, and you're going to win an exchange. Unfortunately, our player instead went there, which doesn't achieve anything. Queen then comes here, attacks the knight, so the knight pays the move going there. Rook comes out and defends the pawn by this move. The move that the engine had a suggestion is unlikely to be found, but it's here. And we've discovered attack on the knight, so it doesn't lose a bishop, and then this move attacks the rook and also this pawn, and it's all going to go terribly badly. The rook has to go there to defend, and then has to put something in front. The king is extremely exposed here, and the queen, the knight, and this rook here are coming in on the attack. The bishop's probably going to take the pawn, and everything's coming in on you. After that pawn move, which achieves absolutely nothing, but maybe it's trying to make some space, the bishop comes back here. The king comes across here to try to, I don't know, try to take the knight, but his own knight's hanging, and it loses white has won a rook here. King moves, bishop now takes the pawn, which is good. The knight takes the queen, takes with check, the queen comes in front. At this point, everyone suggests you just exchange the queens, so up and rook. Exchange the queens, and then you've got an extra piece, and it's not just that. After you exchange the queens, you move your rook here, and and this is completely tied up. His bishop is pinned to the rook, and his only way back is to go there, and at which point you're going to bring the other to attack, and you're just, white is just completely slaughtering his opponent, her opponent. Queen here, and that's pawn move is terrible, because this pawn was it was attacked, but it was also a key defender of this square here. And now white finds this move. It was actually mate in 11, but you wouldn't know that. However, it does look like you're going to start an attack like that. So the only way to get out of this is to actually give up the queen. But she makes the wrong check. The king comes here, and now white has a simple win of this move. Pins the queen, wins it, and white should go on and win the game from here easily. But instead, plays this move, and that allows this simple check here. However, the good news for our lovely friend is that black didn't find that move, and instead moved the piece. This is the level of chess at 600s. The checkmate was missed, and so white has another chance to pin this queen and simply win. But she doesn't. She takes the bishop, which at least defends the checkmate, but gives up an exchange. And now white is up in exchange. Is up a bit by a bishop. Decides to grab some pawns. Takes a pawn. Takes another pawn. Should exchange the queens now, having now taken two more pawns to fight into the battle. You're up a bishop and two pawns going into the endgame. Should be able to convert that, but she doesn't want to do that. She plays another check. The king moves, and there's, you thought was about to grab a pawn, but she doesn't. She plays a bishop move first. Rook comes across to attack the queen, and she moves here, threatening checkmate. So maybe they won't notice, but they do notice, and they put the rook back. She now grabs another pawn, and the white plays a queen move attacking the bishop, so the bishop moves away. Probably not the best square, but it moves away. And the queen comes here, and white plays this move, which is trying to take advantage of the pin, trying to win this pawn. Black moves the rook in, and white takes the pawn with the pawn. I would think taking with the queen is better. It means you're offering an exchange of queens, and when you move the pawn in, your pawn is actually take with the pawn is pinned. So now, if you're going to try to push this pawn up the board, it's a problem because you're going to lose your queen. Black comes into attack with a rook move here, and the simplest thing to do is defend it with the bishop here. It does nothing now, but white exchanges the rooks. Queen takes the pawn and attacks the bishop, and you've got to be aware here of perpetual checks. Move the queen here, which is okay, but check, and then another check, and then another check, and now another check, and another check, and that's repetition. Three repeats of the times this position, and the game is a draw. A game that white should have won comfortably and could have lost by hanging a mate in one. We're going to go to the second game. And once again, J Dizzy has the white pieces here. She plays her favourite queen move, plays the London attack, and h6 is a pointless move by black. But surprisingly, it's been played in an EHS database, but it's not been played at all by the masters, no master players. I know you sometimes see Magnus troll and play moves like that, but that's a blitz, and this masters database doesn't do Title Tuesday games against much lower rated players where he may play a move like that as a bit of fun. The Masters game doesn't include any moves like that. Nice sensible development, and obviously the reason was to expand on with this pawn move attacking the bishop. The bishop simply goes back, and now black develops a piece. White develops a piece. In my day, by the way, we were told knights before bishops, but London breaks all of that and develops a bishop first, and now two bishops. But at least let them get their minor pieces out. Bishop goes to what isn't its best square, because with the white king side so much weakened, the bishop really does belong on d3. Well, it should have gone last move, because you've given black a tempo by allowing him to move that pawn. Black makes another move with the pawn, and the bishop goes back. At this point you feel that you want to probably move your pawn here at some point and get this here, and then get this knight here, and then you go knight this way, but you've got to be aware about some of the other moves. Black plays a pawn move threatening to block in threatening to trap the bishop in, although it doesn't actually trap anything because bishop can go to e5. And white plays knight to f3, which is actually a mistake. It allows the knight comes in, white castles, and now the bishop is attacked one more time, and it can always exchange itself off with this knight here, so it's not lost, the bishop, even though when you come here there's a pawn move here, this bishop can exchange itself with the knight. Goes there, there's a pawn move here, and now bishop will probably take the knight. Yeah, it does. It's bishop's lost, so get another minor in its place. Knight is pawn move here. Black's actually now surprisingly okay here. The king looks exposed, but this bishop is not. It's trapped in here. It's not in the place it should be. This knight has nowhere to go. You need to probably move this knight here and this bishop here. And Black's strange development has left. To get a queen developed. You need to find how ways to bring. You need to bring this bishop probably to here, and then maybe move this pawn and bring this bishop out to here. White brings the knight now, wanting to make this exchange, and if you do so, it's going to, and he takes that way, it's going to open this diagonal up. That move though goes straight for the attack, quick kingside attack, which is obviously threatening, and white should just push the pawn to g3, and black plays another knight pawn move. White moves knight back to. The bishop comes into the attack, and the white knight now comes into d3, which is marked as a mistake. Black decides to sacrifice a knight for the pawn, as trying to storm the king side. Unfortunately, these have to actually work, otherwise he just loses the material. But Peter thinks it's a good. On this occasion, you're attacking this discovered attack on this knight, which is why that knight move was a mistake. Takes and takes the knight, and black's at one pawn. The rook this square, this rook could be kicked away with this move, so it's I know you're attacking a pawn, but that move happens and you take here, that bishop's going to take here, and you're going to be probably in trouble. Bishop comes in to try to trouble, and white now plays that. So that would lose your. He wants to capture, that he wants to exchange. So white's rook is attacked. If we take the pawn, he can't. He'll have to exchange now and then take back. So let's see. If we take here, he can now take. We take back, and he takes here. And now we win this pawn. So it looks okay for white now, is it? Or we can take the pawn this way. Because if he comes here, attacking these, we move the rook to the front. And black's completely winning actually because he goes here. So no, that's no good for. And this attack unfortunately just doesn't come to anything. Rook goes back though and plays the pawn, move forward, defending the bishop. The rook takes. Bishops are exchanged, and what is that? What is that? At the end of all this really, really big quiz, I decided to sack the queen. And the problem is that the pawn isn't going to promote. Pushes the pawn, but the king blocks this, and it's just not going in. You're not going to get a new queen, and you've just given up your queen. And at that point, this game is just. Well, white sacks a pawn for a knight, but it's actually part of a. This is actually the best move for white. It actually helps to get the queen in for checkmate. Rook comes across. Knight goes in now to give a check. Queen joins the party and checkmate. And that's the game's. There we go.